Welcome to Mr. House Bores You. Today, on an extra special Mr. House Bores You, Mr. House has his students to bore you about westward expansion. This will be perhaps the greatest day of your lives as you are entertained and educated by my students. So first up, reading Joe's slides will be Derek.
The Northwest Ordinance. The Northwest Ordinance was passed by
We're having technical difficulties. One, Santiago is dancing in the background, and two, Derek is a little confused. So let me pick up here for Joseph. All right. So the Northwest Ordinance was passed under the Articles of Confederation, previous government to a constitution, and it carved out the Northwest Territory from Great Britain. It prohibited slavery in territories north of the Ohio River. It was the first federal law to address the issue, and this is the most important thing to us right now. This is a hideously colored slide. Thank you, Joseph. So it basically said slavery was prohibited, and it made a dividing line between the free and the slave states of the country. It was passed unanimously because under the Articles of Confederation, it had to be a unanimous thing to pass. That's why we got rid of him. Santiago, don't sit on the desk. Thank you. Okay. So this is the area that was carved out by the Northwest Territory. And up next will be Emily to educate you about the Adams-Onis Treaty.
The people who were involved, more like the states, country that were involved with the Adams-Onis Treaty was the United States and Spain. It happened in 1819. It's basically an agreement between those two. This map shows like what part the U.S. gained from Spain. The U.S. gained from Spain was the present Florida, and the U.S. paid $5 million from people who $5 million for the people that live in the part they own now to leave. The positive, the U.S. agreed to let Spain control Texas. The negative, Spain sold all East Florida to the United States and paid $5 million for the damage they did. Now to Sebastian.
Hello. Texas was annexed by the United States in 1845 and became the 28th state. Until 1836, Texas had been part of Mexico. A group of settlers from the United States who lived in Mexican Texas declared independence. They called their country the Republic of Texas. This slide shows you which part the United States owned and which part Mexico owned and the borders. The negatives and the positives. Many people died. For a later reference, people had to move back more once the United States gained more of Texas. The positives is that the U.S. gained more land. The U.S. won the war for another later reference, and when the U.S. won, they gained more land to California too. Not to Alexa.
Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The basic information of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed on February 2nd, 1848, and ended the Mexican-American War in favor to the United States. Nicholas Trist signed the Treaty of Guadalupe, and the United States paid $15 million to Mexico. The Treaty of Guadalupe added an additional 525,000 square miles to the United States territory, including the land, will mix up the parts: Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. Negative and positive effects. The positive was that the war and treaty extended the United States to the Pacific Ocean and had very good resources like gold, silver, and copper, and it was extremely valuable.
Okay, thank you. This is the end of part 1 of Mr. House's Students Bores You. I have to get the phone, and I'll be back for part 2 to bore you further.